Welcome, welcome guys. This video is going to be a little bit different. I am on a quest to reduce all my parts inventory. This is a piece from a 356, a 741 transmission nose piece. This has got a shift lever or shift rod that is completely frozen inside the housing because it was stored outside, it wasn't stored correctly. No, I can't move it at all. I think all Porsche parts should be saved. This is not super valuable. The shift rod is even less valuable. So if I have to destroy something, I'm probably hoping to destroy the shift rod. It's pretty rusty, I'm not sure it can be cleaned up. So you can probably tell this is a little different color than the rest. And I've been soaking this with Kroil. I put the Kroil on both sides. You can see how that's a little bit discolored there. So I am Kroiling this as much as possible to get it to break free. I've tried putting a big wrench on here and trying to, twist it free. Twisting would break up some of the rust, but that doesn't want to work either. This part is steel, this is aluminum. If I can heat that up to maybe 200, 300 degrees Fahrenheit, that should expand it more than the steel expands, and that should give it a little bit of room to let the Kroil go in there and break away that galvanic corrosion that's got this thing stuck. I got my press sort of ready for a hot housing. I think I'm going to pull that seal out before it goes in the barbecue because I don't want to melt that. Even the seal doesn't want to come out. Most of the rubber part of the seal was pulled out with the seal puller, but the metal outer part is not coming out. So I've basically just kind of rolled it inward, trying to peel it away from this outer surface. It's a little preheat here. Okay, I've just placed this here from the barbecue, and I've got these hollow blocks underneath it. So it's just some square tubing there. But this is the rod we want to try to remove. And it only has about 1/8 of an inch of movement before it runs out of travel. But that's okay, because any movement at this point would be a win. Okay, so just get a little bit of pressure on this. And like I said, it's totally stuck. That's almost a ton if I had to guess. And it hasn't budged one bit. So the temperature right here is about 190. So I think we don't want to go more than about, I don't know, 350, 400. I think that seal is just starting to bubble a little bit. $275. I don't know if it's obvious there, but there might be a slight bit of movement. So let me put a little oil in it and see if we can rotate it. It's a little hard to hold. Nope, I can't turn it at all. And these aren't set up for high tonnage. We don't want to overstress the aluminum, so we're just trying to put some moderate pressure on that. Well, looks like something may have happened on its own. So I'll put some more pressure on it and keep heating it, but I think it moved ever so slightly. The housing hasn't cracked, but the shift rod did move. So that's a big improvement. Another one. Another one. So each time it breaks free, it gets looser, but now I'm out of travel on that bolt. So we're going to have to lift this up and maybe put something else in there. Just dropping a 10mm socket there. Okay, so now the shift rod is contacting the press once again. So we've moved it at least 1.5 inches because that's the size of this tubing. So now we just need to, maybe put it on the bench and just tap it the rest of the way. So there's a quick look from the inside, what that exposed rod looks like. So just gonna keep oiling it and trying to tap it out the rest of the way. Okay, and the bolt has hit the housing, so we back off. Okay, bottomed out one last time. I think we can now use the hammer. Yay! There are my sockets. That's the rod, and then this is the housing. So far, so good. No cracks in the housing, no breakage. Just some soot from the torch. And no sockets were harmed in the making of this video. They are just fine. No cracks, they're just fine. The next step is to wire this up and put it in my electrolysis bath. So clearly I've been doing a lot of derusting, but it goes in there and you can see it's bubbling a little bit. I've been doing lots of parts. And now that the shaft is out and the part sits flat, I just have it on some cardboard to protect that, surface. But I can start to whittle away at this seal and see if I can get that casing out of there so a new seal would easily go in there. Okay, so I've peeled it most of the way out of the bore. Now I just need to kind of push it out from the opposite direction if possible. So if I can get a good purchase on it with a long enough screwdriver, I might be able to take what overhangs and shoot it out. It's severely weakened. Some people say these seals are replaceable in the car. That seems really tough to me to be able to get this out in the car with the shaft in place. So the place where the seal goes doesn't actually look quite that bad. There's a little ding right here, which I think is just from being tossed around in, backs of trucks and stuff. So it does need to be dressed a little bit, but I think a new seal would work just fine. Probably with a little bit of Kroil T on there, it would be great. There's a roll pin pressed in there, and it's a split pin, so I think that should pop right out if you get the right punch. So pretty much back to normal. The pinch bolt goes into here and it's got a little bit of burrs on there. So I just hit that with a file. There is some pitting on the shaft. That is the corrosion that had it totally stuck in there. So the pitting doesn't start until down here where it was bonded in there. So the position of the seal is on this cleaner surface. So I think it's okay. Let me tell you the history of these parts. Years ago, I bought a huge truckload of parts from a repair shop that had gone out of business in the late 90s or early 90s, something like that. It's been out of business for a really long time. And they had some inventory that they kept inside for a long time. They knew it was good stuff, but ultimately it got put out into this pasture, and that's how it got rusty. This was a shop that did race prep for Volkswagens and Porsches. So this transmission was often used in VW bugs that were doing drag racing and road racing. Now you can get much better transmissions from the VW aftermarket, but the Porsche trans was stronger than the VW trans of the same era, and so that's why I got a lot of trans parts. This is just one piece out of like a pallet of stuff. So when this was separated from the trans, I suspect the trans probably split in half or broke or had some significant failure, and they just saved little bits and pieces of things like this, and they put it up in the rafters. And then it just kept moving from house to house, retirement, retirement, retirement. And then I picked it up for like pretty cheap. That's as clean as I'm gonna take it. This is mostly done with the all wheel cleaner from Super Clean. A little bit of wire brush and a sharp pick to just scrape off some of the corrosion that was in there. And then in these really hard to reach areas like right here, I took it outside and I just used my speed blaster with some just traditional sand. And it gets it clean enough. You know, this is something I would put on my car, but I don't need this extra part. So it's gonna go to someone else. I'll take a few photos and it'll be on eBay shortly. I'll put a link below if you need one. But yeah, this was a nice, nice project. I made a video on the Porsche tax and how to, you know, survive in this Porsche hobby and not lose your bank account. Usually it requires a lot of resourcefulness, you know, used parts, buying more than you need, selling parts. It's all part of, like I call it, a game of just buying and selling and fixing and keeping what works for your own car.